Hello, in this video, we will introduce raising exceptions. In the preceding videos, you use try, except, else, finally to write a code to deal with the exceptional situation. How does the exception is thrown? We're going to look at in this video. You can actually write your own code to raise exception to throw it. This is how you do it. Raise with the exception class, and this is to construct the object from the exception class. So a common exception class we're going to use is the runtime error exception that is defined in the Python library. So we're going to use this runtime error. So we create this object, res it. Or you can just write it res runtime error with this argument. It's a string run argument. Let's look at the example here. Now we're going to modify the so-called class. So here's the so-called class. This is the init method. We're going to invoke super.init. And this is to return the radius. So this is return self.radius. Right here is set radius. So if this radius is negative, we're going to res the exception. So here is res runtime error. Well, this is negative radius. Now we're going to use this test program, put this in try except, and look at this one. When you create object using so-called -5, so that is going to be a problem here. You're going to set radius right here. This will res exception. That's runtime error. So here's the runtime error, and that is going to be input. This is the invalid radius. So here for C1, that's fine. You're going to have C1's area is, so you're going to display C1's area, but now come to the C2. So you're going to have this exception. Now you know how to raise exceptions and how to handle exceptions. So what are the benefits of using exception handling? It enables a function to throw an exception to its caller. The caller can handle this exception. Without this capability, the called function itself must handle the exception or terminate the program. Often the called function does not know what to do in case of error. This is typically the case for the library functions. The library function can detect the error, but only the caller knows what needs to be done when an error occurs. The essential benefit of exception handling is to separate the detection of an error from the handling of an error. Many library functions raise exceptions, such as zero division error, type error, index error, runtime error. You can use try except syntax to catch and process the exception. Now, let's look at this. You have functions calling functions calling functions. So what happens when error occurs in one of the functions? So let's look at this situation here. We have this main function invokes function 1 invokes function 2 invokes function 3, and error occurs when invoking function 3, so right here. So now it's throughout from function 3. So this come here. We're going to look at in function 2. Can function 2 catch it? if catches it, so that's fine. So now you are going to execute this handling statement and then statement 6 and coming back to execute statement 3. But what happens if function 2 cannot catch it? So this function 2 is going to be pop out the stack and look at function now 1, function 1. If it cannot catch it, pop it up and then come to main. And if the problem cannot be handled in main, so that is your program is going to terminate. So when you run the program, your program terminates, you receive this message, stack trace. So it lists all this function calls in the chain of the function call where the error occurs. That is all for this section on raising exceptions. See you on the next video.